Hi, it's Andy with our Wednesday video this week. And in yesterday's video, I shared a little bit about first century slavery. Now, in reality, I tried to do that in just a couple of minutes, and there's no way you can cover it sufficiently or even the nuances of that. But today, I did that in order to talk about freedom and what freedom does and does not mean. Today, I want to talk about the result of freedom. I mentioned on Sunday that many people think that religion, and Christianity specifically, is just nothing but rules. Well, it's more than about rules. It's about a relationship. And relationships have structure. All relationships have some structure. They must in order for it to work. And when one party of that relationship has been freed by another party in that relationship, typically the person who did the freeing has a capacity to dictate terms of that relationship. And that is what we see in Exodus when God established His relationship with the people of Israel before giving them the rules. In fact, if you read Exodus chapter 20, you see this clearly where the Ten Commandments are. Before God began to give the Ten Commandments, He said, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Egypt." He reminded them of the relationship before He gave them the rules. But when those terms are dictated, many times somebody in a relationship might take advantage of setting those terms. But God does not. God is a God of love, and what He wants is what is best for us. Now, the reality is we don't always know what's best for us, and if we've been trapped in a relationship, as Paul is pairing here, a relationship with sin, then we don't know what's best for us. We would like to return to what we used to have. And therefore, it only makes sense that God would want to set a relationship for us, set the tone of the relationship for us. So, I've talked about God freeing us, and I've talked about providing the opportunity for us to do good in previous things. But in Romans 6:20, Paul stated that formerly the only freedom that we had before knowing Christ, before giving ourselves to God, before being baptized and with Christ, as it says earlier in chapter 6, is the freedom in regard to righteousness. And what Paul means in that phrase is that we were free to not be righteous. We could not be righteous. There was nothing we could do to be righteous. Now, please don't misunderstand. I did not say that an evil person cannot do good. I did not say that an unsaved person, a non-believer, someone who does not know Jesus, cannot do good. I did not say that. Paul does not say that. God does not say that. But what I did say, because of what Paul said, because of what God asked Paul to say, is that we cannot be righteous on our own. We must choose God in order to be righteous. It is only possible to be made righteous by the blood of Christ. And that is what Paul has been saying for 6 chapters now in Romans. Now in verse 21, Paul contrasts the idea of the fruit of the person who is bound to sin with the inferred possibility of the fruit of someone that we could bear for God, something we could bear for God. Verse 21 is actually kind of challenging because in the original language of Greek, they do not use punctuation. They did not use punctuation. And so the question mark here is, it is not known for certain where the question mark could be. And there's a couple of different places that it could easily fit, and it changes the meaning. But in my research on this, what I've determined is that the two main possibilities for this interpretation, both of them equally could be true, and it really could be true that both of them are true, that they're both true, that it's a both and type of situation. But what Paul is saying in this, in whatever way fruit is supposed to be used, is that we are to bear fruit. Those who bore fruit before Jesus would likely be ashamed of the fruit that they were bearing. But if we know Jesus, then we are to bear fruit. In the parable of the sower that Jesus tells, such as in Mark chapter 4 and Matthew 13, I think it's Luke 9, Jesus said that the seed falls on the soil, and when it takes root, it will produce 30, 60, or even 100-fold of what that seed originally was. That is bearing fruit. Now, I was trying to find my resource for this, and I couldn't find it, but I think the natural result of one seed was about 12 to 15 times. So what Jesus proposed was absolutely preposterous in their thinking, at even 30, let alone as much as 100. But Jesus also said in John 15:5 that if we abide with Him, we will bear much fruit. But apart from Jesus, we can do nothing. Also verse 5. That word abide might sound familiar. I mentioned it earlier in John chapter 8. What's the connection? Well, Jesus has set us free, John 8:32 and 36. We should desire to be with the one who freed us. We should desire to serve the one who freed us. We should desire to know the one who freed us. All of those ideas are a part of abiding with Jesus and His Word. And as we abide with Him, we become more like Him. We become desiring to do things for Him. We desire to bear fruit for Him and with Him. Abiding with Jesus and bearing fruit does not mean that we will not struggle. It does not mean that we will not sin, but our desire to sin will diminish because we're abiding with our new Master, with our new Lord, instead of with sin. So if we tie Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday together, we must understand that grace does not free us to do whatever we want. Instead, the grace of God truly frees us. Then the grace of God trains us because God does not expect less of those who know and love Him. He expects more. And a part of that is to abide with Jesus so that we can bear fruit with our new Master, for our new Master. And tomorrow I will talk about that new Master as our greatest gift on Christmas Eve.